Hello, this is Eric Muss-Barnes, and I'm the author of Schooling Your Boss to Not Suck. Now, have you ever read any of those managerial advice books that are, from human resources, and they're usually written by some pompous jerk who drives a car that's worth more than your annual salary? Well, if a really cool boss truly wants to learn how to inspire and motivate his employees, then we are the ones who need to teach him how to do that. The average guy should be schooling your boss to not suck.
This book is available in whatever format you prefer. If you're the type of person who likes to collect nice, heavy, old hardcover books, you can get it in hardcover. It's also available in a nice traditional paperback, if that's the way that you prefer to read. And in addition to hardcover and paperback, you can get it as an ebook for any e-reader that's on the market. You could get it for a color e-reader, such as the Kindle Fire. You can get it for the original Kindle. You could get it for a Barnes & Noble Nook. You can get it for the Apple iPad. And all of those formats are available simply by going to the website shown on the screen right now.
I'll read you the prologue just to give you an idea what the book is really like. My boss sucks. How many times have we heard that phrase? Whether from friends, family, fellow workers, or our own mouths, we have all heard those words spoken on countless occasions. Wouldn't it be great to have a boss who didn't suck? How cool would it be to have a boss who was more like a superhero than a supervillain? What if you had a boss who took the time to listen to the needs and desires of her employees instead of attending some outlandishly expensive seminar where other bosses who suck give bad advice to your already sucky boss, making them an even more sucky boss whilst under the guise of leveraging more effective leadership or some such malarkey? Blah, what a crock. Such notions were the inspiration for this book. Although, I have to be honest, before I set out to spin this yarn, the biggest internal conflict I faced was, why bother? With thousands of books in the world on managerial skills, who would care about mine? Would anyone even notice my book exists in the sea of others? Then I realized something important, something distinctive that would set mine apart from all the rest. Namely, it's quite simple. I'm not a boss. I don't manage anyone. I don't have a college degree. I'm nothing more than a proverbial grunt, a metaphorical foot soldier, one of the pawns, a low man on the totem pole, as they say. In other words, I'm a lot like you. That was the moment it hit me. Being an everyman is exactly why my advice matters. Therein lies the distinction and the strength of this book. I'm not a PhD with decades of managerial experience in Fortune 100 companies. I'm not making six figures and cruising around in a car that costs more than your house. I'm meat and potatoes, like all you good people. I thought maybe I could write a fun and inspirational book about managing people, one that appeals to common folks, and we can share it with our bosses. Lacking fancy accolades and Ivy League education, what makes me qualified to comment on business strategy and managing people? Absolutely nothing, other than the fact that I have decades of experience in water cooler conversations around the workplace. I pay attention. I listen. I know precisely what sort of a boss people loathe, and I know exactly what kind of a boss earns respect. Some bosses think they don't need to be respected as long as employees do what they're told. Those bosses suck. They are also ignorant and ineffective, because anyone with half a brain can tell you people work much harder when working for leadership they respect as opposed to a chump they resent. I've worked with lots of respectable ladies and gentlemen. I've also worked with a lot of chumps. That is what makes me qualified. As they say, When you have a good story on your hands, you are obligated to speak for people who have no voice. In the world of managerial seminars and advice books, employees never have a voice. Employees never have an opportunity to school their boss on how to not suck. So I decided to create that opportunity and speak for those who never have a chance. Bosses don't need to school each other on how to be effective leaders. No, we common folk are the ones who must educate our bosses on how to motivate us. That is where the authors of competing managerial advice books all fail. Authors of those books are leaders and educators with master's degrees and years of experience as bosses. You find it insulting that your boss attends those expensive seminars? Heck, the author of those other books are the ones who teach those exorbitant seminars. Seminars which cost your company more money than your yearly salary from the last job you were laid off from. What do those leaders know about their followers? Kings educating fellow kings is nothing more than the blind leading the blind. Few things are more annoying to the masses than watching oppressive leaders patting themselves on the back and congratulating each other on what a great job they're doing. Those bosses suck too. Big time. What a ruler truly needs, I thought, is to be commanded by their subjects, dictating what we require from our leadership. I know. Your boss is a jackass and a power trip, so he or she won't respond to that attitude. Don't worry. I'll make him or her think they are in charge. I'll say something like, what a ruler truly needs is to have their humble subjects make desperate pleas for mercy. Something like that. Your power-tripping boss will dig that. We'll trick them into reading this if we have to. Why the snarky attitude? Because that's the way people truly behave. That's how we talk around the water cooler. The sunshine and rainbows and puppy dogs attitude of other advice books is not realistic. As was said in the film Chaplin, many working class folks are poor, and they enjoy seeing the well-to-do get razzed a bit. People have enjoyed that for centuries, and they will for centuries to come. If that helps improve things, why not? I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that was the gist of it. Hence, the idea for schooling your boss to not suck was born. And I won't lie to you. This book isn't going to be a source of profound revelations. You won't read this and encounter a philosophy you've never heard of before. The concepts I discuss are most likely things you have heard about in the past. However, I aspired to eliminate all the extraneous ideas and distill the vital information down into simply consolidated topics. I speak from real-life experience in telling you what works and what doesn't work in regard to getting people to deliver their personal best in the workplace. I can't believe I messed up that sentence. I was doing so well. At the end of each chapter, I divide the concept into one of two categories, retention or efficiency. Why? Because assuming a company offers products and services that are desirable by the public and marketed properly, the best way to maintain a solid internal framework at a company boils down to those two simple ideas: retaining exceptional personnel and their doing efficient work. Overly simplified, perhaps. Nevertheless, for those bosses who focus on the bottom line, you'll be able to see at a glance why the advice in each chapter is relevant. Concepts in each chapter are reflected in positive stories about great bosses who did things the right way, and negative stories about bosses who sucked. Sometimes they sucked eggs. Sometimes they sucked the poo-stained rectal hair from the corpse of a month-dead Bigfoot. Although I strive to be entertaining, and this book maintains a very lighthearted and sarcastic tone, the underlying messages are serious ones. Being an effective leader doesn't need to be complicated. While I jokingly maintain an us versus them attitude throughout the text, those sucky bosses against the righteous employees, the truth is, we all have bosses. Therefore, we're all in this together, folks. Even if you have no official subordinates. We all have different levels of experience and seniority. We all have ladies and gentlemen above and below us on the totem pole. No matter where you stand on that totem pole, I hope this book will offer you some beneficial food for thought and allow you to garner knowledge of simple principles that will make your workplace more fulfilling and, by extension, make your life more rewarding. After all, you're stuck dealing with those goofballs for 8 hours a day. While you may never become best pals with your boss, hopefully you can at least reach a point where you don't dread being around them. School your boss to be a decent human being. You wouldn't have picked up a book with that title, though. Maybe you'll manage to school yourself a little in the process, too. No matter what your background, no matter where you come from, I'm sure we can all agree, life is far more enjoyable when people aren't sucking. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and be sure to check out my other books as well.